it's encouraged us to, how do we give more? How do we do more? How do we invest more in the people around us, right? Because man, that's crazy. That's how many, if I can ask, I don't know if I can ask, but how much money have you raised for people in the last?
I don't know. I think it's gotta be like $1 million or more, you know?
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
I love the start of your story, man, because you threw it all away, dude. You threw it all away. So lead me up to that point where you threw it all away, where you turned out everything and you started all over.
And I just loved adrenaline, man. Loved doing wild things. Just anything I could think of, really. I would go in the hood, try to buy drugs, pull out a police badge and say, like, you're under arrest, undercover cop. And then people would be running. I'd be chasing them, or they'd be chasing me once they realized this kid's shooting a video. So just did a lot of stuff like that didn't lead to anything. And it was crazy because at the time I was like, man, these videos should be getting millions and millions of views and like doing so well. And I didn't understand it because the videos were real, where other people would fake their videos and blow up. And I was like, how is this happening? And then later on in life, man, I just realized, like, wow, God was hiding me because he didn't want me to be known for something I wasn't called to do. You know, it was something that, like, you can do something and almost be really good at it. But if it's not God's calling on your life, you might feel like there's like this blocker in front of you. And you don't maybe need to push harder to get through it, but you maybe need to get on your knees and say, dang, Jesus, like, what is it that you've called me to do? I was reading this book that was very powerful, Driven by Eternity, by John Bevere. I remember reading this book like 4 years ago, and I opened it up and read a couple pages, and I closed it, like threw it in my closet, and I told like 10 people, don't read this book. This is a dumb book. It's so intense. It's so serious. Like it's just intense. But I found myself like a couple months ago, I was back home. I was like, I'm going to grab that book. But this time I was reading it from a place of hunger, and I was like, man, I just want truth, and I want someone to wake me up, and I just want it. And the pages were so full of life, man, because my heart was ready for that conviction. And in there, he just talks about, you know, the judgment day, like, you know, just basically showing up in front of God at the judgment seat and saying, like, give an account for your life. And this one guy would say, like, I was a pastor. I did all these amazing things for you, whatever. And then God would say, yeah, but I didn't call you to be a pastor. I called you to, you know, go into business and do all this. And then there'd be another guy, and he'd say, I was in business, I did all this. And he'd go, yeah, but I didn't call you to go in business. I called you to be a pastor. And so it really brought a reflection to me to find out where God wanted me to be.
It's not just about going. I think God pulls us back so often to go, you can't go at this alone.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, I don't know if you know this or not. So obviously we met at the Commitment Summit in Costa Rica. When Karen and I showed up at that event, dude, we were lost. Like, we had grown this company, couple hundred employees. We'd done so many cool things, but we were in a season in our life where we're getting a lot of pain. Right. And it was at that event where Karen and I finally put it together that, like, all right, I think God was just pulling us back and saying, like, dude, you can't do this without me. Right. You know, because we were getting arrogant, probably like you, know, like, oh, I'm just out here, I'm doing it, I'm crushing it. Like, oh man, look at me, I'm doing these great things. In fact, asking questions like, why aren't we blowing up more? What are we doing? But we missed that relationship, you know? We missed that relationship.
Yeah, that's so key, man. Yeah, you could build anything, do anything, but if you're doing it not without pops, man, without God, like, they can look shiny and great from the outside, but when you lay your head down at night, your conscience won't be clear unless you've got that relationship with Jesus. And so, yeah, man, back to your, you know, original question. I just was doing all these wild videos and stuff, and then I found myself at a party in the woods of Minnesota, and I had these socks on that had a little Jesus on them from Urban Outfitters. Okay. It was like the Rio de Janeiro statue, Jesus on these socks. It was jumping around, running over the fire, like running through the woods, just messing around. There's a party out there. Kids used to party in the woods, so no one would know where they were. And on the way home, I was like, oh, crap. Like, my mom doesn't know I was here. They're going to get mad. Like, you know, I was like, my socks have holes in them. Like, they had rips and stuff from messing around. I was like, what am I going to do? And that night, I wasn't convicted because I was drinking or smoking. I didn't do any of that. I wasn't hooking up with anyone. I didn't drink or smoke. I wasn't on drugs, but I was somewhere that I knew I shouldn't have been, and just out there with that crowd of people. And so I got into my house, snuck into my room, my parents' house, got into my room, and I just remember sitting there in my room. I don't know what I was thinking, but just like I was just looking at my socks, and I was like, Jesus, like, can you please help me out? And so I grab my socks, hide them in my underwear drawer, push all my clothes up against that. Next morning, I wake up early in the morning before my mom comes upstairs to do laundry and stuff, and I grab the socks where I'd hidden them. And it was like I was in a movie. I pulled them out, and there was just no holes in them. They were brand new, and I was like, what? Like looking at them, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And God just spoke to me. He goes, Jimmy, I want to be your friend above everything else. And right then, it just broke off all this religion and like weight on my life. And I was like, whoa, God's actually interested in knowing me. And through that, I'm going to be transformed. I'm going to grow. And, my life is going to look like what he's calling me to. But right now, he wants to be my friend and get to know me. And that just changed everything I had ever thought, man. And, a couple of days after that, like shortly after, I saw a Billy Graham video on YouTube, and he was just saying, do you want to live for yourself and selfishness, or do you want to live for God and give yourself to him? Heaven and hell is this intense message. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going straight downstairs. Like the way I'm living is not right. So I got on my knees right then, gave my life to Jesus. And I had never really heard preaching that straightforward before. A lot of churches, it's just so encouraging, this and that, where that's all great, man. But I don't want someone, it's like, if there's someone around the corner when I leave this apartment that's going to kill me, I don't want you to say, Jimmy, have a great day. Take a right, grab a hot chocolate on the way as you take a right. Like, man, I don't care what you got to do. Wake me up and tell me there's something around the corner. Like, I'm not trying to just, skip around through life. Like, I want to know some of these things.
Yeah.
The realization of the gospel is so powerful. And so my pastor called me into his office a few weeks later. He heard I was a Christian, gave my life to the Lord. He goes, Jimmy, your videos don't line up with what you believe at all. Like, you need to delete these. And I was like, dang, man. And so I ended up going home, sitting in front of my computer, and I was like, oh, should I delete all this? Like, my grades aren't that good. Probably not going to get into a college. All my eggs were in one basket to make content. And I was like, you know what? There's no way I'll be 90-some years old on my deathbed being like, I wish I wouldn't have trusted God with everything. And so I was like, that's it. And so I'm like, click, delete. And then it goes, you sure you want to delete? And I was like, dang it, the devil, he's back. He's tempting me. Oh. And I was like, all right, screw it. And so I deleted all my stuff.
Yeah.
And from then there was no going back. It was time to, surrender to God and just to see what he wanted me to do with my life next.
Dude, that's crazy. No, I'm genuinely curious. In fact, because in today's world, when you say I'm a Christian, when you say I'm religious, I feel like there's a plethora, there's a scale almost that people are talking about here, right? And obviously I'm a believer. I believe I have a great relationship with Jesus and God, and how do we really spread this? But you've personally experienced a lot of miracles in your life where you God is just right there and just healed you. Even there's a story of healing, but not a lot of people see that. Why? Why do you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, the funny thing is, I asked for it. It wasn't like my sock just magically appeared like that.
Yeah.
I was just in that place of desperation where I was like, Jesus, help me. And as soon as you can just show just an inch of hunger, man, I feel like heaven just wants to bounce on that.
Yeah.
And so God's probably doing things in people's lives, even on Christians' lives, unsaved people's lives. He's doing things all the time, but they just don't see it because they're not curious. There's no hunger, and something cool will happen, and they'll go, "Oh, coincidence? That's sick." I'll add this to like a manifestation book or something I'm writing. And it's like maybe it wasn't manifestation, but maybe it was God trying to knock on your heart, saying, "I want to do life with you."
How do people build a stronger relationship with Jesus? I mean, the Bible says, right, faith of a mustard seed.
Yeah.
Right. And so how do people build a stronger relationship with Jesus so that they have that faith to ask, have that faith to move, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, what I'm originally talking about is people that aren't even Christian at all.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people that are, just, doing who knows what. But as far as Christians, man, I really got hit with this thing a couple of months ago when I was in Minnesota. I was like, dang it, every year or every few months I'm with my friends. We'll be talking about the Lord, and so we'll start crying. I'm like, man, I haven't been reading the Word enough. Like, I haven't done this, haven't done that. And then we'll go hardcore for a month, and then people will stop reading and this and that. And it's like, how can we change that? And so I was like, man, I wanted to start this group, and I'm still thinking how to do it. But, you know, you get a group of like 10 friends or whatever, and there's just these 4 things you go down the list of doing. And it's like people that want to really know God and want to go deeper and want to really live sold out for Jesus. And it's like, if you've got a home group of 30 people and you say, hey, does anyone, you know, need to repent in here? Maybe one person out of the 30 raised their hand when really 20 needed to, but it's a big group, right? Or, you know, there's only time for a few people to share. But just imagine having a group of 5 friends or whatever, and you just go down the line and you just go, did you read the Word every day this week? You didn't? All right, that's okay. But make sure you're doing that. Remember how important it is. You eat food every day, and the Word is food for your spirit. The reason you're struggling with sin and temptation is because your spirit is malnourished because you haven't been feasting on the Word. And when you read the Word, it's like a buffet. And then if someone else shows you a turkey, it makes you want to puke to eat it because you're so full. But when we're starving because we haven't been reading the Word and just listening to a sermon, a song here and there, whatever, like we think we're doing really well. But as soon as something trial comes, it just overwhelms us. So getting in the Word daily, man. Tithing is another huge part, like giving, supporting the body of Christ. You know, that's something that I, you know, just until recent, I would always give random amounts to things or whatever. But I was like, whoa, there's actually a really importance of tithing and giving your first fruits of what God's given you. You know, like someone will get something and they'll say, all right, I'll pay the taxes, this, that, 10% left over. It's like, no, give the first 10%. And so the rest of the fruits are blessed. And I'm all for generosity, doing wild things. I mean, that's what I do from a day-to-day basis. But I've been in groups where it's like, you know, Darla, you know, needs a car. Let's all donate money for Darla. And one of the questions we should maybe ask is like, you know, if they're a Christian, like, have you been tithing the last few years? And if you haven't, well, make sure you're doing that. Even if you're making $1 a month, just that 10 cents to the Lord, it says, like God says, like, don't, you know, it's not good to test God, but it actually, he says to test him in that, to test him in giving. That's like the one time he's like, test me. And what happens is he like a God that needs our money and is greedy? No, it's that he knows money can be such a root of evil and such a stronghold in our lives that if our hand is open when we have money to give, we're also able to receive. But when it's closed and we're selfish and hoarding it, God can't bless us anymore because he knows, wow, it's just going to feed that idol more. So when you live a lifestyle of generosity and giving, the Lord can just bless you in so many ways. But
and that's where we connected, right? Like, and if anybody hasn't seen your videos, they got to go watch, right? Because I love that about you, because I believe that it's one of the few. I saw Jesus in your post. You never even talked about him, right? Like, because that's what it is, right? You're finding goodness, you're finding kindness, you're finding people that have the heart of Jesus, right? When I went to Africa as a missionary. I don't know if I told you this story, but we were. I went there, and I was got my couple years into college. I'm smart. I've got money. I come from the United States of America, and I'm going to like Tanzania. And I'm going to teach these people how to live life, right? I'm going to bring them so much value because I'm so incredibly intelligent, right? And we went to these villages where, I mean, dude, really, like, Jesus didn't exist. You know, I mean, like, there was no church. There was no, like, body, right? And I remember being in villages where I felt they were more Christ-like than any of the people back home at church, right? Like, you go into a village and they literally, people come out and greet you when you're just walking through the city. That doesn't happen. Yeah. Right? Like, I mean, you're one of the few people I know that walks on the streets, right? Trying to give out, and then, hey, just stay with me. And not only stay with me, they'll have one bed in their house. Like, no, you're the guest. You sleep in the bed. We'll sleep on the floor. Wow. Can you imagine? We would never do that. Yeah. We'd never allow someone in our home, much less give them our bed. Right? And that's what you're doing. You're finding the spirit of Jesus, in these people, and you're drawing it out, and then repaying it and blessing it. It's incredible.
Yeah. That's originally, when I got started into doing what I was doing, I just felt like God said, because I said, I don't want to just go around giving money, say, hey, here you go, look at me, I'm giving my money. I was like, how can we make the content not about me? And that's when God gave me the idea. He's like, the kindness challenge. Ask somebody for help. And when they help you, then help them. Because the people that are generous, that tells a lot about someone more than just them giving you a few quarters. Someone giving you a few quarters unknowingly, that they're on camera, unknowingly that there's a reward coming, that shows a lot about their world, a lot about what's going on in their heart, what's going on in their mind, and shows because of their generosity that they'll be able to steward a blessing, not always perfect, but a lot better than someone that's greedy. And so that's why I love the kindness challenge, because one, the camera, it's always on them. They become the hero. And what's so cool about it is, yeah, man, these people that are generous, like the other day, this homeless gentleman gave me a bike tire. And yesterday I met up with him and I think I surprised him. His GoFundMe's at like 40-some thousand. And it's like, I think he's going to be able to steward it well and use it rightfully because of his generosity. Shows that his heart is in that place.
And this, just to clarify, right? This is a video you posted yesterday, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you needed a tire. He gave you a bike tire.
Yes.
He's blessing you. This guy doesn't have much, right? And you turned around and did a GoFundMe campaign, $44,000.
Yeah. And I actually,
I mean, and to put that in context, right? Like some people watching this are big business people, 44 grand. What? Like this is like a lot of money for someone in this situation.
Yeah, it all came in like probably 12 hours. And yeah, it was, what's crazy about it too is that video didn't even go viral. You know, sometimes a video will get, 5-10 million views and maybe raise $10,000. This video got like on TikTok, it got like 368,000 views, but people connected with it so much that that's all the crowd it took to know about this man for them to say, we want to do something about it.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. Yeah, he was in prison for like 8 years. He's homeless. He was saying how homelessness is way worse than prison because of the loneliness and just all this other stuff. So it's like, it's going to be hard for him to have gotten on his feet, get a job because of his record. But now with that boost and people knowing who he is, and he can say, hey, here's me from the video. They go, wow, that's an awesome guy. You're generous. Like, all right, we'll give you a shot. Come work here, you know? So he's stoked to get to work.
First off, I do love how you said only 300,000 views didn't go viral. For me, I get like 5,000 views. I'm like, baby, we went viral. Look at this. You're like over here. You're counting in hundreds of thousands, millions. Oh my goodness. That just shows the different variety here. But like, dude, that's nuts. What's the most impactful story that you've like, if there's one story that just hits your heart, or maybe one that you I know you keep up with a lot of these folks, but
my favorite one was what was the name of the podcast again? This podcast?
Committed.
Yeah, Committed. Speaking about Committed, that's kind of the story about this is God. I just ask him sometimes for video ideas, and I felt like he said, Jimmy, ask somebody today for a hug. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to ask somebody for a hug. So I drive around town for hours and hours, and I'm about to go up to someone and ask them for a hug, and I just feel no peace. Like, I just feel like this is not the right person. So I'm like, all right, go up to someone else, not peace. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, the sun's going down. Like, you said give someone a hug, but usually when you call us to do something, there's usually a level of peace with it.
Yeah.
And so I knew there was peace over the word, but not over how I was trying to do it or who I was trying to approach. And so I'm just driving home like, all right, I guess we're going to have to try tomorrow. And I see this guy biking, and he's, you can tell he's wearing clothes like he just got done like painting a house or whatever. He's kind of got paint all over him. And I see him biking. I'm like, oh my, I just knew it. That is the guy. That is the guy. So I whip over my Honda. I run like a street down to like come out of the bushes gradually. So like he thinks I'm just on a walk. And I say, sir, can I have a hug, man? And he goes, what? And he stops his bike with his feet because the brakes didn't even work. And I said, yeah, man, my family's not around right now. Like, I just need a hug. I'm having a hard day. And this guy gives me a hug, and his name is Jose. And I say, Jose, man, thanks so much for giving me a hug. Because of your kindness, man, I want to give you $500 for hugging me. And he just starts weeping his eyes out. And I'm like, dang, what happened? And he goes, that day today at work, the boss paid everyone except for me. And I was like, how's that possible? And then he gets into a story how he's basically an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. He came here years ago to help his family get ahead in El Salvador because of how hard it is to make money in the economy there. That he left his wife and kids to work to send money to them to provide for them. And he worked for a guy in Vegas for like 15 years. And the guy promised to pay him at the end, but then didn't. And it was just wild because he can't take him to court or nothing because, you know, he's not a citizen.
Yeah.
And I say, Jose, oh my gosh. And he goes, I know where the guy lives. He lives, and he pointed to the street where he knew where he lives, but he goes, I forgave him. He goes, and my wife thinks I'm crazy, but I said, honey, I'm coming home like in a few months. Like, I'm coming home for Christmas. And she's like, what? You can't come home? Like, you never made any money or whatever for the whole point of why you left. And he's like, no, God's going to do a miracle. And so this man, he hasn't seen his wife and kids for over 18 years, just working, you know, sending the little money he could make to them. And so I'm like, Jose, man, I want to help you out. So the first thing we did was we got him brand new teeth, partnered with a dentist in LA, got him all new teeth. He was going to have an infection. It was really bad. Like, he needed new teeth. So we got him new teeth. Then I went around the country with them and became best buddies with this guy. I don't know. He's like 65 years old or something. We just drove around, stayed in the same hotel rooms, and we drove around like to 3-4 states around the country, blessing people together, having fun. And then I was able to surprise him, and I raised, I don't know, I think it was eventually around like 40-some thousand for him. And he ended up moving home in time for Christmas, sent a video hugging his wife at the airport, hadn't seen her in 18 years. And now he's got like 50 grand there. And he told me that's enough to buy like 5 houses there and like start a business and all this stuff. So he's just cooking. But that was such a powerful story of this man's awesome faith. And I really believe it's the power of his forgiveness that God wanted him to be the one, you know?
That's huge, right? Because it's not just about the people you're blessing, right? Like, imagine this guy, anybody who ever needs something or serve, like, nobody's going to be within a mile of him and not be served by him because he got served by you or served by God, right? And how many people watch this video and watch these things and then kind of go through that generosity? I know even Karen and I, we've like, it's encouraged us to, how do we give more? How do we do more? How do we invest more in the people around us, right? Because man, that's crazy. That's how many, if I can ask, I don't know if I can ask, but how much money have you raised for people in the last?
I don't know. I think it's got to be like $1 million or more, you know?
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the coolest thing about it is it's not like we've got some couple big donors that do it all. It's literally people, $5, $2, $1 that adds up to these GoFundMes for these people. And it's just unbelievable that people are willing to give to someone they had not even met,
stranger.
They just connected so well with a video. And that's why they're wanting to help change that person's life. So I can't believe it. Every time I do it and every time I put up the GoFundMe, as soon as the first donation comes, I go, oh, here we go, you know, and I can tell like the pace of it. If like, you know, if like in the first 5 minutes, 6 donations come in, I'm like, all right, this one's going to be up there. You know, some of them have hit over 100,000.
Can I put your GoFundMe in this one, in this video? Do you mind?
Well, yeah, I don't have one that we're raising for right now, so you're going to have to wait a few days to meet a new person.
Well, you can do it for me. You can raise money for me.
Yeah,
Come on now.
Some help? I got you.
Let's go. Shoot.
Yeah.
That's incredible, dude. So, all right, because we got to go back on the story a little bit here. So you throw away the YouTube channel, and you're not doing videos for how long?
Yeah, I go probably around like well, here's what I did. So I stopped making content altogether, and then I moved out to Hawaii to this school, this Christian school, and I get out there, and I had horrible scoliosis my whole life. My left leg's like 1.5 inches shorter than my right leg. My spine's crooked, gives me horrible pain my whole life. Like, my best friends, I'd say, punch me in the spine as hard as you can to relieve the pain. It was just a nightmare. And went to tons of doctors. All they said was like, do a surgery to lengthen your Achilles tendon so your legs are the same length, and that could solve it. And I was like, heck no, because they're like, you'll be in a wheelchair for a while. And I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
And so anyways, man, I'm out there at this school in Hawaii, you know, and kind of there because it's Hawaii, not like crazy, like, I'm going to know Jesus. I kind of went there. I was like, sure, I'll go to Hawaii. Yeah. And I'm out there chilling at the school, and this guy's like, Jimmy, can we pray for you to get healed? I was like, what in the heck are you talking about? And he's like, right here, right now, baby. I was like, all right, man. Like, in my church, they'll say, like, hey, can I pray for you? And they mean
walk away.
Home, and then they mostly forget to pray
not
for you.
Pray.
It's like a sympathy thing. And so this guy's like, no, straight up. And so I'm sitting in this chair, and he holds open my legs, and I'm like, bro, I'm not closing my eyes. I got to witness what's going on. And he says, in Jesus' name right now, leg grow. And it just starts shaking like this and goes straight out to match the length of my other leg. And I mean, I can't even explain what is going on in my head? You know, like, I just couldn't believe it, you know? Like when the Falcons were up like 25 points in the Super Bowl and Tom Brady came back, it was like what Matt Ryan was feeling times 100, you know? Like, how in the world is this possible? And I was like, what in the world? And just this love coming over me. And it's just like, whoa. Right at that moment, I was like, okay, Jesus, God, the Bible, this is not a game. This is not some cool little way to live, add some morals to your life to soup it up a little. This is not just some traditions in American history and some little book that got passed on, written by a few men. This is a Bible that was written by men, through the Holy Spirit, through God. And these words are living, and Jesus is real. He did come out of the tomb, and he's real, and he wants to invade people's life with love. And he's sick and tired of being misrepresented by hypocrites, by different people, just doing things in his name. And it's just like, I just could feel the desire of Christ over me, of just where he's like, I want to be represented well. I love people radically, and that love doesn't mean like, oh, like I'm doing this in my life and Jesus loves me, I'm going to stay doing this. It's not that kind of love. It's a love that's like,
admire.
Yeah, it's like you love your little girl. I don't know, you got a little girl?
I got a
you
little
love
one.
your little girl, and you wouldn't be like, I just love her, and I love when she plays on the highway. It's just so cute. It's like, no, you love the crap out of her, but you do not like when she's on the highway because of what it will do to her or what could do to her.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's like with sin and stuff in our lives. It's like his love is so amazing, but he wants to eventually love us and transform us to where those things aren't in our life. And so what happened to me, bro, was that took place, and I really felt like God took my heart, gave me a new heart. And before I felt obligated to live righteously, like I had to do it. And now I felt like I got to live righteously because my taste buds changed. So it's no longer like I desired sin and couldn't do it. I desired righteousness and could do it, And so it was just amazing. It was the most freeing thing on the planet. You would say, dang, Jimmy, I don't know if I want that to happen to me because then I'm going to feel obligated to follow Jesus. And I don't know if about everything he's teaching. I don't want to do it. No, when you follow him word for word and do what he says, it is freedom in its finest, And it's just so beautiful. It's like he's the creator. The creator knows. The creator of the football knows what it's made for. You start dribbling a football around like a basketball, it's just boom, boom, boom. And we do that with our lives. We're like, nah, I'm 18. I'm now the inventor in my life. I'm going to do this and do that. But yeah, man, basically back to what I was saying is, so I started making these videos where I would just do wild stuff like parasail across my lake in a Superman outfit. And all the kids would be like, Superman's real, there he is. And then at the end of the video, like a Bible verse would come up on the screen. Or I would, just do wild stuff, like just stunt videos and just a bunch of crazy stuff. I find a homeless guy on Valentine's Day, dress him up, get him a date on a rooftop with like chocolates and Frank Sinatra and a dance, and then put a Bible verse at the end. So I deleted my videos and I laid down YouTube, but I started doing it for the Lord, right?
Yeah.
And then that's when God kind of spoke to me, and he's like, no, Jimmy, I want you to lay it down. Like, not lay down the worldliness and pick it up for me. Like, I want you to lay it down. The problem isn't just the worldliness. It's the idol of, you being defined by what you do. And I want you to remove that. And
that's what all of us do, or a lot of us, right? Especially, we okay, let me do what I want to do, and then let me put the stamp on the end.
Yeah.
Right? Let me do what I want to do, and then but let's say a prayer in the beginning to make sure we're good, right? Let me do what I want to do, and then, but you switched it all around, right? Like you're not even showing your face on a lot of these videos. You don't even know who you are.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I lived in India as a missionary for a while. I lived in Brazil, and then I was in Australia, and I remember my friend saying, Jimmy, would you give everything to God, And I was like, oh yeah, I would do anything. Like, I would give anything to God. If he said, go here, I'd go there, do this, I'd do that. And then someone was like, what if he said, delete your YouTube channel? And I was like, oh, and I was like, dang.
He wouldn't say that. No, he wouldn't.
Yeah. And then sure enough, man, I was like, you know what? I read in the word what it says about idols, and it ain't good. So I do not want one. I need an idol check and make sure I don't got an idol. So that's when I fully deleted everything, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, every social media platform, and was off it for like 3 years. and never thought I would ever return to that stuff. And was on a hill praying in Northern California, and just off this stuff for years. My mind was so clear. If you get off social media stuff for a period of time, you will feel incredible. And I was off it, and I was like, man, God, thank you so much that I got off this. Like, I never want to get back to content. I just want to work a normal job, do something, and just live a life serving you. I never want to make videos and do that again. I was like, this is crazy. I'm saying this, God, but I have no desire to do that. And that used to be all I think and breathe about. I have zero desire. As soon as I said that, I could just feel the voice of God, and he said, your idol's finally dead. Now go back and start making videos for me. And I was like, what? Idol's finally dead? Like, bro, we killed that thing like 3 years ago. And he's like, no, the desire just now fully left your heart when you said that.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about God is, like, you know, you might be watching this and have an idol of money or an idol of whatever, a million different idols. And you might go, oh my gosh, if I give it up, like, I'll never be able to return it. Like, yeah, that maybe is true. Maybe 10 years from now, God will put you back into it. Maybe 2 seconds from now, he will. It's really just a matter of the heart and what's going on there. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, wow. And he's like, go make videos for me now. And all of a sudden, all the creativity, all the inspiration came back to me. And I found myself in Minnesota at my parents' house. And I came downstairs one day and was figuring out how to do this game plan for God to do it for him. And my dad just said, Jimmy, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, what do I want to do with my life? I was like, geez, you're like kicking me out of the house, you know? Like, this is intense. And I was like, if I could do anything, it would be travel around the country, help as many people as possible, give away money, change people's lives, and eventually, like, lead people to Jesus doing that. And he's like, well, start tomorrow. Go. And my dad's old school. Like, he's got a restaurant. He works like 90 hours a week. Yeah. Like, he's gone years without taking a day out. And so when he hears something, he's like, get to it, work. And I'm like, wait, you need to, like, someone needs to confirm it. A door needs to open up, someone, you know? And he just shattered all that. I was like, start tomorrow. So literally next, like, day, I hop in my Honda with my friend. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to try to do this as much as I can. And so my first idea was I'm going to do family-friendly comedy content across America, build a following to around 1 million followers, and then use that following to then change people's lives, and like raise money and do that with those followers, you know, because I can't be giving away $100 a day if I don't have even $1 in my account. And so back to what you were saying, yeah, I drove to Mount Rushmore. First, like, video I remember kind of making there was actually
the
no
proposal, right?
Well, yeah, there's actually a video before that. This is crazy. So the video before that, like the first video on this journey I made, I was in this parking lot. And I said, I'm going to get a roll of tape, and I'm going to go up to someone and just hand them a roll of tape without saying a word. Okay? Sounds so stupid, right? So I got my hidden camera on, and I have a roll of tape, and I walk up to this lady sitting in her car, and I just go, and she grabs it and just goes, no, oh, no, you are kidding. Oh, my gosh. And I'm like, what's that? She goes, no, you're an angel. What's going on? And I go, what? She goes, we have been looking everywhere for tape. We needed tape for this and that. And then you give me tape. And then the husband comes, and she goes, honey, look, it's an angel. He gave us tape. He didn't even say a word. I didn't even ask him for it. How did he know we needed tape? And I'm just watching it all, and I walk away. Yeah, and I upload this, and the video starts cooking. And right then you could just see the favor of God, like, just weird, divine, like, what are the odds of that? Like, the first video. And yeah, then I went to Mount Rushmore, proposed like a 65-year-old lady. And, you know, her husband came over and was laughing, and it went viral. And so pretty quickly was able to gain that audience. And then found myself in Miami and asked this homeless gentleman if I could be friends with him for the day. So became friends with him for the day, hung out with them. Made a video of it, and then in the car, we were stuck in traffic, and he starts like crying. He's like, bro, I wanted to die. I wanted to like end my life before I met you, but now I don't. And I was like, what in the world? I had no idea it was that powerful. I said, bro, do you have a Cash App? And he goes, sure. So I put the Cash App at the end of the video just to see if someone would send him $10 to help this guy out. And the next morning I wake up, it's got like 10 million views, and I call him, and he's like, 30 grand is in the account. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I always thought this was possible in theory, but to see this happen, it's crazy. Holy biscuits and gravy. I was like, this is candy. And so ever since then, man, I just repeated that formula, kept doing it, and it was awesome. The second, third time, it's like, whoa, maybe these are one-hit wonders of people donating, but now it's every time we capture a story or led by God, people donate and change lives. So it's crazy, man.
But I love how, man, I think a lot of business owners are watching the podcast, right? We have all these God-given talents, and we'll use them. And I think God blesses that, and it's great stuff. But once you really start honing in to serving Him with those talents, man, the unthinkable can happen, right? I mean, this is what's happened with you. Is like you had all, comparing your success today to your success back then, it's not even, you know what I mean? Like when you took down that video, when you tore that down, your blessings, it seems like, are tenfold, 20-fold that, from whatever standard you want to look at, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I had like 18,000 subscribers when I deleted the channel. And now, we'll get that in like 3 days, every 3 days.
That's crazy.
So it's just unbelievable. Yeah, it's just, I mean, if you would have told me that when I deleted, I would have was falling out of my chair, But that's what's so cool about God is, He reveals things slowly, one step at a time. And if He gave you, the next 10 years right now, the next 20 years, what you would do, like your head would pop with pride probably, So it's when our character grows, He releases more, and it's a perfect thing. It's just beautiful.
Have you ever heard of how they catch monkeys way back in the day in Latin America?
No, I didn't know people were catching monkeys.
Yeah, they've always been catching monkeys to eat them or whatever you want to do. So way back in the day, to catch a monkey, it's not a bow and arrow, it wasn't like some type of fancy trap, it wasn't a gun. How they would catch monkeys is they would take a jar, right? And they would put fruits in the jar. And so when the monkey would find the jars, they would reach in and they would grab the fruit. But when they grabbed the fruit, they would make a fist. And then they couldn't pull it out of the jar. And so once they had that, and they were stubborn, right? Like they would hold on to this fruit, it's food, but the more they hang on to it, they couldn't go. So they couldn't climb a tree, obviously, with the... If they let go, they could just move their hand out, right? And so this is how they would catch monkeys. Because once that monkey had that jar attached to it, which literally all you have to do is let go and it slides out, you can't climb a tree, you can't run, you can't do anything, right? And so even something good, even a talent that God gave you, if you're holding on that too tight, if you're holding on to that, you just got to let go and you can move, right?
Be a worship leader, for goodness sake. I live with a worship leader. My housemate's a worship leader.
Yeah.
But just hearing the ins and outs of that, what he's doing and stuff, he's awesome, and he's stewarded his heart so well. It's truly beautiful as he's been promoted, how he stayed humble. But there's a lot of even worship leaders, man, that, you would say that's the purest thing ever, right? But it can get real funky real quick. And the problem with fame or being well-known or successful is people close to you will not want to rebuke you, will not want to convict you because of the influence you have. They'll want to always stay in your circle. And so something you have to do, or something that I've tried always doing, is I tell my friends, man, rebuke me any day of the week. If you don't, I'm going to actually kick you out of my friend group. I want conviction, man. I want to make sure we're living right. No one knows it all too quick. No one figures it out. We got to do this journey together, Yeah. As soon as you think you're untouchable or above other people, I don't know what the verse is about pride and falling, but it doesn't sound nice.
I heard a great tip about marriage one time. One day you'll get married, and it was most people when they get married, they have a fight. They call their best friends. Hey, you know what Jimmy did? Oh my God, da 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 da. And of course, those 5 friends will 100% agree with you. And literally, this guy, this mentor of mine, he was saying, find 5 people that will 100% disagree with you. In fact, find 5 people that are Karen's best friends and call them, because that's where you're going to learn, right? Because they're not going to defend you. They're going to defend her. And the moment you get 5 people defending, and so this idea of people, surrounding people that will rebuke you, surrounding people that will, that aren't afraid to turn the other way.
Dang, that's good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that
these little bitty secrets, the light.
It's crazy. It's so simple things, but it's really true, man. The simplest things. It's you could spend $5 billion building a skyscraper, this and that, and boom. But that foundation is off 1 inch. That puppy's coming down.
Yeah. And I love this, dude, because this is what this podcast is all about. When you find people that are committed to something big, something worth fighting for, you hear it in their passion. And I can hear it in your passion, this idea of spreading Jesus to people, spreading kindness, goodness. Like, you could talk probably about this for hours and hours and hours, you know, if you wanted. I love it, man.
Yeah.
But if you had to nail down like a specific, like, this is my North Star, this is where I'm heading. I know God is, but like, what specifically do you want to accomplish with all this content?
Yeah, man. What I want to accomplish is, I really want, the next generation to be discipled, man, and to just be the right representation of who God is, Like, I always say this all the time. Like, you heard of Michael Jordan? People go, oh, yeah. It's like, if I go buy a Michael Jordan jersey right now and, push some grandma to the floor and rob a bank, does that have anything to do with Michael Jordan? No. I'm just a crazy person wearing his jersey, misrepresenting him.
Yeah.
And so many people do that to Jesus and misrepresent him. So I want to be the one person, if I can be. There's a lot of people, but I'm saying if I can be another person that puts on his jersey, represents him rightly, man, like, that's what I want to do. Because truthfully, man, like, I've done a lot of things, a lot of cool, crazy things, met a lot of people. And without him, man, nothing's anything, man. Like, he is the foundation to everything. So I want to go from making these videos that are encouraging people in generosity and kindness. I want to go from that, do that at a bigger scale. But then I want people to know the love of Jesus, man, have a relationship with them. And that's truly how I think culture can be changed, because it's wild, man. Like, you could have, you could put a video out there or something and someone sees it is inspired by generosity, to be generous. And if they apply that principle to their life of being generous, that'll be powerful in itself. That'll be so cool. But after a few months, few years, that might fizz out of their lifestyle. They'll forget about it, whatever. But if you can make a video spreading generosity, but then, preaching the gospel where people want relationship with him, now Jesus is over their life mentoring them. And now that person is a menace to evil the rest of their days. And whether it's 5 people or 10,000 people that you can get doing that, they are going to do so much stuff, of just restoring people's lives, bringing redemption, restoring relationships with their mom, their uncle, their father, paying for the person behind the Starbucks. They're going to just be oozing out the Lord. And so that's really what I want to do, man, is do stuff like that on a huge scale. And then, one day, I don't know, get into politics or something and bring, the Lord and just and into that atmosphere as well, and then transform world leaders. Like, my dream, man, is to be around world leaders and get their hearts transformed, and their countries will be transformed. But I just want to try everything I could possibly do and live this as crazy of a lifestyle possible, and like bring as much damage to hell as I possibly can these like 70 short years that I'm around, So I don't know if that fully answers the question, but that's what gets me going, man. Like, I don't really have any aspirations outside of bringing the kingdom to earth,
And I think that's how Jesus would do it, man. If he was here, I mean, in the Bible, it's not like he's preaching in the church always, right? This isn't, I see him going and being with the people and finding love and finding people that care. I mean, exactly what you're doing, man. It's so exciting. Dude, it's exciting, bro.
I get jacked up about it. And other people too, and like what you're doing and other people watching this, everyone has awesome things that they're doing in areas of influence that I'll never be able to influence or talk to, Like, you could have your grandma, but she's got those 10 friends that only she sees every week, that only she's gonna influence, Everyone has their own sphere to do amazing things and to restore people's lives, and we all have different talents, Like, imagine you went to a band, like you went to your favorite concert, and there's 5 band members, and all of them played electric guitar. Nobody sang. Nobody played the drums. Like, you'd fall asleep in 2 minutes.
It's gonna be a terrible band. Golly. Sounds like a band I would be a part of. This is good. This is good, man. Dude, thank you, bro. Yeah. Thank you, dude.
I love talking, sharing stuff, and it's just so cool, man. You can really never underestimate the power of video, because that's what changed my life, seeing that Billy Graham video. So seeing a podcast, seeing an interview, like, there might be, 2,000 people that see it, 100,000, whatever, but all it takes is one person to see something, to implement some stuff in their life, and just have a wild ripple effect that me, you, or the future interviews you do on this, you're not going to know the effect of it until you're upstairs and you'll be like, wait,
Who knows?
that all those people from that happened? What? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, driven by eternity. It's a book, but it's also just a way to live. Being driven by eternity.
Driven by eternity. We'll put that in the show notes so everybody can pick up the book. In fact,
I haven't read the whole thing, so I'm
the ending is terrible, but you know.
I'm like 35 pages in. I'm like 35 pages in. Man, there's one thing I'll say about this book, the part that I was just reading. It's powerful. It talks about all these different people and it follows their life. One is called like double life. One is called like selfish. One is called faint heart, all these things. Well, faint heart, you read about this person, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to be like faint heart. She has the purest heart. She serves. She loves people. She does all the right things, right? Has a relationship with God, all these things. And you're like, I want to be like her. But then a few chapters later, she gets in this situation where I don't know, her boyfriend leaves her and then is with someone else or whatever. And then she gets really bitter toward this one person and really angry. Mm-hmm. Well, the rest of her life from the outside, it looks like she's doing amazing. But deep down, she has this bitterness and it grows and she becomes this old, like cold, dark woman inside. And no one knows about it on the outward. And then when she's in heaven or like in the judgment seat, she's like in a line. She's like looking around with the people she's aligned with. She's in line with like these murderers and stuff. And she's like so confused. And so I know that's deep and weighty, but man, it's powerful. Like, you know, like murder in the heart is, you know, Jesus says it's just like murder outside of the body or lust in the eyes versus doing it. You know, like all things start in the heart. Mm-hmm. And so, just to see those things and be like, whoa, man, I want to keep my heart pure, man. If something happens, like, you know, we're all human and there's going to be temptation and things that come. But as soon as it's there, like, pull that little weed out. If there's a weed in your business or something, or you find yourself gossiping about something, stop and just pull it out. It's not the end of the world. You know, there's forgiveness, there's redemption, but let's just keep our hearts clean like a garden. Like, imagine if you had a garden and it was just beautiful and a couple of weeds popped up and you're like, those are okay. Let's just plant some more beautiful flowers. If you don't take out that weed, man, that puppy's going to take over that whole situation, you know? Mm-hmm. So just really making sure, you know, it's pretty easy to live clean on the outside, but on the inside,
be rotten.
Where we got to keep that polished.
One of the things that we talk about when we talk about commitments, and my old coach taught me, right, was like actually embodying the commitment. So it's not I have a commitment of showing Christ. I am the commitment to show Christ, right? And I think that's what you're doing, bro. That's what you're doing. This is good. You've dominated short film, TikTok, Instagram. You're all over the place. Yeah. Where are you headed next? When are we going into long form?
Oh, baby, yeah. I'm starting, honestly, in the next couple months, I'm going to be going all into long form, hiring a team and stuff, and we're going to, yeah, man, try to do longer videos, changing people's lives on a bigger scale, paying off people's houses, paying people's hospital bills, you know, preaching the gospel in those videos. And, you know, hopefully when I watch this podcast in a year, I go, bro, we were able to do it.
Yeah. This is going to be a reminder. I'm going to send it to you a year from now. I'll put it on. We're going to do something different on this podcast. I haven't done on any one I've ever recorded. I want to pray with you before we're out, and then we'll go from there. Sound good?
Perfect.
All right, dude. All right, man, dear Heavenly Father, we praise you so much, and we just thank you for every single blessing that you've given us, and we thank you for Jimmy and the impact that he's bringing to the world, God. And I just pray that you just fill his spirit with you, and just guide him and push him and serve him. Give him the people that you want him to connect with. Help him touch as many people as possible, and help that he leads everyone directly to you, God. I pray that you just protect him. As he's growing and as he's scaling, make sure that you just protect him from people that he doesn't need to be a part of, and just bring those that he does close to him, God. I pray that you're in his relationships, that you're in his heart, God, that you're in his with his friends, that you're in this home, God. I pray that you just live and breathe everywhere in his life. We thank you, we praise you, and in your Son we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen, man. As you were praying, I just had a little vision for you, kind of a picture I saw was like, imagine somebody, they're just like on a soccer field or something, and all they have to do is run like 10 yards in front of them, right? And there's someone that says, all right, go to the spot, but they don't know where the 10-yard marker is. Like, it could be behind them, the left, the right. So they end up spending like a couple of hours, and they're like walking around, like they're just trying to like find it to where they're like, you found the spot, you know? And then there's like you, when you're like by the edge of a woods, and someone's like, yeah, you're going to run like 100 yards, and you know exactly where they're telling you to run to. So yeah, you're running through trees, but you're sprinting because you know exactly where you're going, even though there's those obstacles. And I feel like, yeah, man, God's going to give you just an upgrade and clarity and everything to where you're going to be able to just sprint. No matter what obstacles or whatever comes, you're going to know where you're going, and that's how you're going to get there so quickly, rather than someone who maybe has everything and it's so easy, but they just don't even know what they're doing, you know? So
Yeah. I love it, bro. I love it. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on. This was a real blast.
All right. We'll do it again.
You know,
Yeah. We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Good.